First of all, I just want to say thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate the community. I appreciate my family. I love them. My office. You guys gonna make me cry. I'm not trying to cry here. Gangsters don't cry. No, I'm just I represent the people. I represent each and every one of you, whether you live in the city, whether you live in the county, the people who elected me to do the job to help people. Because I live in our city all my life. I have not moved anywhere else. I live in the communities where I see the disinvestment and the inequality of how people are policed, how opportunities. I was one of those young kids that got bused to St. Louis County to have a better education.
What you said.
And I came back to the city and I love the city. And so I love this job because I actually want to invest in people, not about buildings. I want to invest in people and to address the root causes of the problem. We can all talk about what the #1 cause of crime is, and that's poverty. We know that. We have more police than most major cities, and that's still not enough. We have done the things that we see in this community, but we know what it is. If we give people the equal opportunity to thrive, then they will be great. And we are great as a city. That's why people are paying so much attention to us, right? Because they want this greatness, but they want you to believe you're not great, right? They want you to believe that the circuit attorney and what she's doing is not great because, you know, I love these words. Incompetent, right? They always want to say incompetent. Last time I checked, I got 20 years of a law license, okay? Last time I checked, this 8-year unelected attorney general has nothing on 20 years, right? And let me say, because I got the media here, unelected. He was never put in by nobody. And he want to tell you who you want in a representative in this community. Because you know why? Because I'm the only elected official in the criminal justice system. Chief law enforcement officer in this jurisdiction, and they want to take away your right to have that person elected. And that's telling you something, right? We can't even elect our judges. The governor can't elect his judge in his jurisdiction, but he can tell you how your judge is acting yours. That's a problem. So this quote, warrant, or whatever I'm not supposed to talk about is baseless. It's foolishness. But guess what? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Because I'm representing the people, and the people won't change. The people won't change. Because last time I checked, I seen those 300 murders in 1980 that we see on the paper. But you want to talk about crime was different. Well, tell me the year that crime was different. In the 1960s, the 1950s, the 1920s. But you want to go back to 1812 and have a mechanism to take over your police department that you pay for. Now they want you to take away your criminal justice person. The only person elected is the circuit attorney, and it's the first time in the history we ever had a black elected official in this position, and they want to silence your voice. himself. And I know they're gonna get it wrong. They're gonna quote me wrong and say, oh, she's race baiting, but they made it about race. They made it about race. I didn't make it about race. All these white males attacking a black person like the Circuit Attorney. So you tell me you talking about race. They didn't use this quote warrant on George Peach when he was putting up prostitutes. Did they use this quote warrant for that? No. But now we're gonna do this quote warrant. It's extraordinary writ.
He stole some money too.
Oh, that's just, let people resign, right? We let people resign and go out, and I'm not gonna criticize whatever somebody did for that person. I don't know George Peach, but the problem is when you use these mechanisms to attack the will of the people. And so, back to the question, I'm sorry I got hyped up, it's because to believe I'm sitting here crying, I'm all shaking, and I'm timid, and I'm gonna back down. What they did was make it worse, because guess what? This black woman here is gonna fight. And they gonna see the power of a real black woman in North City. In the middle of work. See, y'all don't know that, do you? They ain't gonna report that, harassing people. But they always want to talk about the rule of law. Oh, okay. I tell you, the rule of law. Okay? We're gonna talk about the rule of law, okay?
Rule of law for some, right?
No, the rule of law for the status quo. To do what they need to do.
Right. And it's funny. Well, I guess it's not funny. I remember, we had to go down to Jeff City some weeks back, and if you all remember, the original premise for the House Bill 301 was all the murders in St. Louis are out of control, out of control. And I had to walk them down the numbers that she just laid out from 1970 through 2000. The initiator of the legislation, I can't remember his name, he said, well, there was a 5-year period where X, Y, Z numbers of murder happened. And I said, well, what about 1991 to 1995 when we had 1,200 murders? Right. Under D. Joyce Hayes, did they call for her removal? Was it a cold war movement? Did you try to disenfranchise all the St. Louis City voters? They didn't have any answer. They backed off. We go back for the Senate hearing on the same bill. This is in the aftermath of the terrible tragedy involving the young lady who was unfortunately hit, where the media said 1,000 times that the circuit attorney had this guy on the street. As it turns out, that was factually incorrect. I took documentation to that effect in Jefferson City and presented it to the head of he said, and this is what he said. This is important to know. Well, what about what the media's been saying in St. Louis? What about all the reports we see? He's in Jefferson City somewhere talking about what all the media reports. But I said, man, the same media that told you these documents didn't exist, that the judge's order didn't exist. So I use that to transition into this next question, which could go on for a while. What have been the most challenging aspects of your job?
I mean, the sad thing about it is when I took office, right, I was happy on that day. I was happy being the first, right? But what saddened me was when individuals that I'm not gonna name because they still around, they told me, now since you're in order for us to make it easy for you or to do your job, what you think you can do your job, we have a list of asks. When we call you, we need you to let our family members go because, you work for only the small few. And I need to keep certain people in my office that were in the last administration. And I looked and I said, absolutely not. Because if we truly about justice, justice is for everybody. It's not about your social economic status, where you live, and your zip code. It's about fairness and justice for all, and I actually believe that. And we have people who, every step of the way, they threatened me. They told me because I didn't keep a certain person in my office, you know, the first thing that happened, they DQ'd me, disqualified me off my office because I brought certain people into my office. There were some judges that did that. We had people who, you know, when they wanted to decide to leave, you know, they made false information and talked about what the office was doing and what we're not doing. You know, just like they're doing right now, where they blacking out people's faces. I get sued every day. You black out people's faces. They said they worked in my office, right? But if you man enough or woman enough to come on TV, be woman enough and man enough to show your face, right? Because I show my face every day. If that happened, then be out here and show everybody that really happened. But we know that didn't happen. But they want to, you know, and they told me, they said, you know, this is before the governor's office, the governor's situation, you know, because I believed a middle-aged hairdresser and that she was actually, a crime was committed in the city of St. Louis, and my job as a prosecutor is to evaluate and charge crime in the city of St. Louis, and that happened to be a person that happened to be governor, and it was on. And what happened was, they told me to dispense justice differently because of the title and the status, and I can't do it. I can't do it. And from then, I was told by the defense counsel, this is all documented in the legal proceedings. You don't have to, and all the thousands of transcripts, they basically said, you know, they threatened that I would be ruined. They're going to ruin me. My political career is over with. And they're going to make every day hell. Excuse my French, I'm not trying to cuss in the church, but they said that. They also had police officers call my office, well, victims call my office and saying police said because I'm the first African-American prosecutor, it's certain crimes that they can't write reports on because I'm not going to prosecute those cases. That was day one. That was day one. So when you have this, you know, perfect intersection of who's in office and individuals trying to sabotage your office, you create, this is not a woe is Kim Gardner, woe is the office, but it's not normal, right? It's not normal when you have everyday people who show up to work for a thankless, low-paying job. They work with police every day. They do their job without fanfare, but then to have individuals have an actual political agenda to stop justice, that's a problem. And so, you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, like the Attorney General, the unelected Attorney General can make statements and tell me I got up to high noon to get out of an office like we're in some kind of Western, you know. You got the governor who I knew him when I was a state rep. He was a senator, and I talked to him one time, but he ain't ever called me for anything other than to call the president down and the U.S. attorney last time and say that I'm not doing my job because I chose to evaluate crime when you had individuals waving guns at protesters who were protesting through a community. And they had people come to my house to threaten me and my family with harm, but you know, those are things that have been challenging, but you know, in spite of all, we've done our job. We worked hard. We continue to do the hard work, and it's difficult. You know, it's difficult, but you know, what is disturbing is the audacity, right? The audacity that somebody would get on TV and tell me I got noon. But it's not about me. He told you, your representative, to get out of her office by noon. That's your office. And I'm trying to figure out who is he? I don't even know this dude's name. I mean, okay. But he gonna know my name. Trust me, believe. He gonna know Kim Gardner of the city of St. Louis to represent we the people, because we the people ain't backing down, right? He gonna know the city of St. Louis true colors. St. Louis versus what? Everybody they represent?
And you know, it was referenced earlier, I believe Brother Khatib referenced it in the very opening of this event, This is happening all over the country. There really is a concerted attack against black leadership across America. You look at what's happening in Georgia with that system. Poised to indict common criminal Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Lindsey Graham, others. The Republican legislature there passes a law themselves that positions them now to remove her for cause. We can remove you whenever we want to because it looks like you're going to hold these powerful white people accountable. Same thing in New York with D.A. Bragg about to indict Trump, Letitia James about to indict Trump. Here comes Congress unconstitutionally calling for him to come and explain why he thinks he's in a position to hold this man accountable for the crimes he committed in New York. Philadelphia, same thing. But I think St. Louis is a different case. And what we're not going to do here is allow anybody to disenfranchise the voters or the community from duly elected circuit attorney that we put in place, who won 3 out of every 4 votes in the last election that she ran in. So, you know, in some respects, and I just wanted to get your response on this, we know that the media drives a lot of that here in St. Louis. So let me just walk you briefly. Let me take 30 seconds to walk you back through some of the local media gaffes that we've been subjected to. Remember when the police officer stopped the circuit attorney because her headlights were out and the circuit attorney felt unsafe? A black woman by herself at night with a police officer at her car, she called one of her security people. The security people responded, and then it was alleged in the media that the security guy had threatened the officer and was all of these things. We get the videotape. They're shaking hands. They're friendly with each other. I mean, it just didn't happen.
Just like we let go carjackers and carjackers.
That's my next one. That's my next one. What is going on in St. Louis? They're carjacking the police. It must be out of control. We get the videotape. Didn't happen. It didn't happen. The story went away once we presented that evidence factually, objectively. It just didn't happen. But the media had already saturated the minds of the people in St. Louis with what happened. Same thing we saw now with more recently this tragedy with this young lady. Circuit attorney did it. Circuit attorney, no, she didn't. The judge had him out. What do you think the role of the media has been in terms of furthering misunderstanding in the public body of what has and hasn't happened in the office, because they have misrepresented so much. It's hard to know if they know the lie from the truth.
Well, I mean, we can always say, you know, I don't want to go into, you know, my dealings with the media, because I'm not going to blanket all media as being biased.
Just say KOS.
But it's a lot more, so I'm not going to say one. But I mean, what I want to say is, you know, what we have to do is we have to have actual facts of what happens in the criminal justice system. You know, the criminal justice system is not an easy system. We know it's been broken. A lot of times it's doing what it was designed to do, and when you're trying to change a system that has decimated communities, has let communities down, and we're saying this is the only option for, as we heard, mental health crisis, economic crisis, you know, drug crisis. What we have to do as a community, if we really want to have the media to understand public safety, because, you know, it's fear and ratings. You know, it's ratings and fear and pain. And what we need, just like we know we have hardworking men and women in our communities, not everybody is a criminal, not everybody is committing a crime. We have a lot of things happening. We have to uplift our own stories. That's why I take a personal choice. You don't ever hear me put out how many times I convicted an individual, because we do that all the time, right? That media message is out there all the time. And it's not that I'm not a prosecutor or I'm not doing my job, but we have to balance the messaging, because what you're trying to do is really educate the community about what we're trying to do. When we breathe life into these young kids, which is our future, which I'm sad to say now, you know, we've we're dealing with the young men, but the growing prison population is the young women. And we know when the young women go to prison, everybody in their family goes to prison behind them. And we have to support a better communication strategy as a whole to tell stories of life. You know, we can tell stories of all the crime and all the deaths, but let's talk about the life, that good things that our people are doing in the city of St. Louis. Instead of having who got shot, who got carjacked, who car got stolen. Yes, that should be reported, but let's report about these kids as Central Visual Performing Arts that have survived and trying to thrive in spite of trauma, right? Let's talk about not just the school shooting that we know happened today in Nashville. Let's talk about these kids and giving them a future, because our kids are looking at us like, what's going on? What's going on? We want to have a community that embraces all young people. And that's where, and part of this movement has to be, as Farragon Shagat, text me, has to be about young people. But I don't blame a young person who don't want to be a part of this system, because the problem is, when you see young people who are always what they've done wrong, let's tell them what they've done good. Let's stop giving people a talking down, but let's give somebody a hand to give them hope. Because, but for the grace of God, I had a mother and a father and a grandparents that steered me the right way, right? But for the grace of God, I didn't take that step over here, because I could have been like my friends who went into the criminal justice system. But for the grace of God, I'm not addicted to drugs because all the trauma, all the suffering I see in North City, because, we have a lot of people who just make the wrong choice and they get into a situation and then it's forever gone. And so together we have to embrace all community, black, white, everybody, Hispanic, everybody. And we have to come together, because in the end of the day, and I appreciate you guys coming here. And what I wanted to talk about, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to change systems. And when you're trying to change a system, we know what it's done. We know what it does. And you're trying to change systems, and you heard Ms. Muhammad talk about, resources. Well, I'm the circuit attorney that brought in a health system inside the circuit attorney's office to address the cycle victimization. I'm the circuit attorney that's bringing in addiction physicians to address that addiction of that person, to give them an opportunity to thrive. I'm the person who will hook you up with a job, because just like I can look at you for a charge and time, let's get you a job and get you education so you can get something out of this system. And we have to say, and that's not saying I'm not the prosecutor, right? Because I have prosecuted people, violent individuals, but at the same time, I believe even a violent individual needs help. Because they're gonna come out. It's only certain crimes, so many crimes that you go away for the rest of your life. And so what do? When they come back out, they have nothing? And then we say, do everything right? Where do you think they're going? That's why recidivism is over 60%. But we don't talk about that, right? We don't talk about that. And so, you asked me about the media, but, one of the things I want, and I hope, regardless of who's in this position or not, because I'm going to run again, so I don't want you guys to think I'm not running. This is not about a political thing. I'm not trying to talk about politics in the church, but, what I want for people to see is not about Kim Gardner. It's about the story of the people. The people fight every day to get up and do their job without any accolades. We try to survive and thrive and keep our families safe. And I just want that for everybody. I want the same thing that I want every day for my family, for each and every one of you in these pews, in the community. And I just want us to come together. And I get tired of people telling bootless people to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, right? Bootless people to pull themselves by the bootstraps. Well, guess what, Governor? Since you care about the crime, let's put some restrictions on these guns, because I was a person that stood up there and begged my colleagues in the state legislature. I said, we're going to cause a perfect storm of hopelessness, and they knew that. But guess what they did? They didn't care. They think you have a right to give a 12-year-old an AK-47 than give somebody health care. That's a problem for me. They want to give you more resources in prison than out here on these streets. That's a problem for me. That is a problem for me. You can get a job in prison and 3 meals, but you can't get help out here in the community. And we talk about mental illness. It's situational psychosis when you barely can feed yourself, thrive, strive, and then you wonder why people are not afraid of prison. Because when they look better in prison than out here on the streets, that's a problem. We should all be ashamed of that. When you talk about giving equality to the communities, let these kids grow. Let these kids grow, let these families grow. If I can put $30,000 to your incarceration, let's give people $30,000 to these families so they can thrive and survive in the community. But see, we don't want to talk about that. We want to say, lock everybody up. You can hold a violent offender accountable. You can be for justice. You can be for Lamar Johnson. As a matter of fact, what I'm most proud of, or one of the things I'm proud of, they don't want you to know about Lamar Johnson. You know why? Because that's the system and how it works sometimes. We get it wrong. And until we reckon that we can get it wrong and we gotta correct wrongful convictions just like I can put you in, why is it took for me, in this case, to make a way for prosecutors? Tell me about it. Why did it take for me, Kim Gardner, North City, from the city of St. Louis, to fight for Lamar Johnson, for prosecutors around this state, to have a mechanism? They didn't know that we had a mechanism before. They never had a wrongful conviction. Oh, okay. So you gotta ask yourself why they fight so hard against you, which is through me. It's because we're changing lives. We're making a difference. You're doing something. If I wasn't doing something, you wouldn't hear about this. You wouldn't hear about co-warranting if I wasn't doing nothing. But what I want you to do is there's silence in you. Regardless of you support me or not, you want to be able to elect your prosecutor. That is so important. That is so important. We determine who you charge, what we charge, if we divert you. See, you don't even understand that. Diversion was the first time we ever had diversion in this state, is in this office right here. They wasn't doing that. They don't tell you we always do diversion. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You wasn't doing diversion. You were diverting somebody right to prison. That's what you was doing. That's the diversion program they had before 2017.
I'll put a bow on that media discussion just by saying to the community that take what you received there with a grain of salt. Relay the information that you received tonight, post haste, to everybody in the community so that they actually know what's going on. So they really know what's going on. Circuit Attorney Gardner, we know you're going to run again. This is not a political event. And if you run again, you're likely to get 3 out of every 4 votes again, like you did the last time you ran. So as you continue to move forward, what are some of the emerging opportunities and initiatives that St. Louis voters can look forward to from your office in the rest of your second term and going forward?
We have to address gun violence. I mean, that's the #1 priority. We have to address these kids being affected by guns, their families. We have to address violent crime. We have to find a strategy to prevent crime as well as hold individuals accountable. We have to put more resources in. You know, people talk about mental health, but it's just, we have to invest in people. We have to bring community ambassadors inside our office like we have, and to expand the resources of addressing, why are you here? You know, everybody has a story, why are you here? And if you gave a care about the people, most people, regardless of the charge of that individual, they're people. I'm not saying that, and victims are people. Victims, you know, the victim and the perpetrator are the same person. Everybody thinks they're these different people, right? The cycle of victimization, we have to address. And so that's where, you know, my office will focus and continue to focus is resources, working with health systems to really address the needs, working with job, opportunities and job organizations to hook people up with real opportunities, not this program of a program or a training program to train, to get you in, just to take an application to say, well, when something open up, I want real jobs. You can work, when you want to work with me, I need real jobs because it's an emergency room. It's 911. People are not coming to me, you know, they're at the last stop. And so I need people who want to help to actually say, if I got jobs, you know, I got need to feel, and I don't care what your record is, okay? Because you have to help people if you want to help the community as a whole, and that's public safety.
Yes.
I've got one more question for you. I think the energy is perfect in here tonight. I want to let it end on a high note. You know, such thing as having enough. And I think we have enough here in terms of what we are feeling, what we understand, and what we are motivated to do. That we don't have to go much further. I've got one more question, but I wanted to ask you if there's anything else that you wanted to cover before I ask that last one.
I just want to say thank you, everybody. You know, I hear your prayers. I hear your, you know, all of the calls that my office gets. You know, I told my people today, you know, that a lot of people support you guys. I know you only hear negativity in the media. You only hear negativity sometimes in the courts. But we are here to fight for the people of the city of St. Louis. You know, do your job like you've done it as the constant professionals. And we're going to do it fairly and justly. And justice sometimes means we're going to lose. Justice sometimes means we can't issue that case. But, you know, I just want to say I'm humbled by all the support, but I'm humbled that you guys are still engaged because that's what they want. They want you to turn away and to turn a blind eye to what's going on. Because this is voter suppression from the 1960s. I read about this in school, and I'm like, this is, they taking it back. I mean, they taking it real back. And like I said, you should be alarmed. And it's like I said, regardless of you support Kim Gardner or not, I'm not saying everybody, I know everybody does not support me, and they're not supposed to. You should have the, thank you, I love you too. But you have to have the person, you have to have that person that you vote for in this office. And that's what I want to protect. And I just want to say this before Mr. Reddick Hudson closes and asks me the last question. You know, it's funny how I got this quo warranto, right? But I also got legislation to take away the office, right? And it's funny, right? Why you got both? If you can remove me, right? Why you got both? Why you got the legislation and this? If it's so easy. But what they trying to do is remove your voice. They didn't have they didn't want to come down here and talk to you and tell you what you want, and ask you what you want. A lot of people were making bills in Jeff City have never been to the city of St. Louis but to a baseball game or a football game or now a soccer game.
But the media said. Right. Well, you stole my thunder, Circuit Attorney, because my last question was, how has the community support that you've received sustained and motivated you? But you already responded to that, so.
I mean, you guys keep me going. I mean, it's tough. I ain't gonna lie, it's tough. And it's tough sometimes, but in the end of the day, you know, I fight so hard because you guys told me you don't want the same old, same old.
Thank you. Thank you. We are all in this together. You stay with us, we'll stay with you. It's going to be a fight, trust us. And it takes all of us. So we appreciate you for coming out tonight. Please be safe. Take care of yourselves and your families.